In the summer of 2021, we were in Istanbul and we met another traveling couple, Pedro and Iana. Pedro is a drummer and Iana is a dancer. And they started podcasting way before us. And actually, their chill, cozy way of creating a podcast inspired us to do our own. Pedro and Iana have kind of said yes to us sharing the episode they recorded with us. So the following is an episode of Pedro and Iana's podcast series called Artist Day. We hope you will like the dialogue, and I recommend you check them out. I have shared a lot of links to all the cool projects in the show notes. And now it's time for the podcast episode called Artist Day, Family Travel and Unschooling, where Cecilie and I get to talk a lot. We loved it. Thank you, Iana. Thank you, Pedro. And now I hope you will enjoy the dialogue.
Hello and welcome to the third episode of Artist Date. I am Pedro Bonatto.
Iana Komarnytska.
And we're joined. Today is the first episode that we actually have guests that we met here in Istanbul. And that's really cool. So quickly, we're actually talking just before we started recording about names. So Jesper and Cecilie. Yep. So, and you guys are Danish, and we're actually talking about like, how should I pronounce your name? And you had like very casual, like, however you pronounce your name is cool, right?
Yeah, as long as I can
recognize it.
If you can do the same twice.
Right. Yeah, so we were like, just to, if you're new to the show, welcome. Like, this is our third recording with me and Iana. And basically last week, we met you guys in this small little like artsy, it was called Kafir Aga Madrasa. Kafir Aga Madrasa is this little very cute like spot that has been around since the times of Solomon.
1559.
1559, and now it's like a little art space, and you guys walked in with your family, like with your 3 kids, and then we started chatting, and you guys had such a cool experience, and it's totally related to some things that we were actually thinking about, which is traveling with kids and your approach to teaching. Then I thought, let's chat and talk about and see how the conversation goes. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. An honor to be here.
Show.
As we are home.
Very honored to sit in my rented couch.
Yes. Yeah, so first thing is like, so we should mention that you guys have been long-term travelers. Yep. And you travel with your kids, which is awesome, which are of different age ranges.
Would have been very, very unawesome to leave them at home.
Yeah.
Right. And you travel like long term, and you actually like, and you have a different approach to education, which is great. So then let's get into it. Do you have anything?
How did everything started in terms of like long travels? Like, when was your first, long travel? Use this mindset. Oh, let's travel for a long time. Let's say.
Yeah.
It's a very hard question to answer, because always when you make a decision or start a project, there will be multiple reasons and multiple explanations for why did I end up having this as a life goal or having this as a core value. So there couldn't be like one answer. I could give you a whole list of answers. So maybe it was when my grandmother went to Iran 70 years ago with her family and stayed there for almost 2 years, and it had a great impact on our family. Like, the whole family identity was very much influenced by this time in what is now Iran, what was then Persia. Maybe it was the road trips when I was a kid. Maybe it was there was something magical about our relation. We always talked about traveling when we met. We had like half a day of not working and not cleaning and not, breastfeeding.
Then we would start talking
and we
about
have
traveling.
a lot of kids. So then it would be about traveling. It would always be about traveling. And maybe it was because I beat cancer 10 years ago and really felt... What? 11 now? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And when I had cancer, I thought, if I beat this, I will not want to live through another Danish winter, because I just hate Nordic winters.
But before that, we started to take 1 month long winter vacations.
It was after.
No,
it was after the
no,
cancer.
Thailand and Cecilie.
Okay.
It was before.
Before and after.
Before and after.
But after we did it every year.
Yeah, we did it every year, and the winters in Denmark are beautiful if you like grey weather and a lot of.
If you can afford a good couch.
Yeah, and I mean, no, just joking aside, it is very long winter in Denmark. It is not Nordic enough to be snow-filled and beautiful. We have like a couple of weeks of snow, and the rest is just grey. We had one winter, and I believe it was the winter before we left, maybe, where there was in January 7 hours of sunshine in a whole month. And if that's not enough to kill yourself, then I don't know what.
Yeah, we can relate. Yeah, because we were living in Canada for like 10 years and stuff, and in Toronto, it's like it snows, but it's a flat city, so you can't even go out to snowboard or anything, and it's the brutal, not even just brutal cold, but it's long. It drags on. It's so.
That's the other thing about the Nordic winter is that it's very long.
But we went to Sweden, and then it's beautiful if you go a couple of hundred kilometers up, because then it's
at least you have snow.
You have the snow,
and then you have light. But we just have rain. And grey weather and cold, and we hate it. Yeah. And especially I hate it. But
to answer the question on some of the other points, what happened was Cecilie beat cancer. In that period, I was when she was hospitalized, I was home alone with. Back then, we had 3 kids. She survived, and we got a surprise with Fjord, who is our youngest. He's 9 now. And that year, when Cecilie was pregnant, we realized the pain of having 4 children and trying to take public transportation. We were living in the big city.
We didn't have a driver's license, and we're same age. So we were 37. And we couldn't drive a car.
Couldn't drive a car.
Oh,
but we lived in the middle of Copenhagen, so we didn't need to drive a car. We would use our bike. We had a cargo bike for the kids, and we would just take the train if we needed to go out of town.
But we had an experience one day where we had 2 children on the outside of a train, and the rest of us inside, and we were like, oh, yeah, with Leo and Storm.
Well, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It was actually, we were so many people when we got to the 4th child. No, actually, even with 3 children and 1 dog, that sometimes we could hardly get into the train before the train would leave.
Oh.
So we were like,
because
okay, let's
if you have suitcases and stuff, you're going on vacation, and you have a lot of stuff, you have a lot of kids, you have a dog, you have a wagon for the children, and then, of course, we didn't leave them behind there, but we hardly got in. So when I got pregnant just after cancer, I was still bald, I was still really weak, and I realized, okay, I'm going to have another child. I said, I need 3 things. I need a fully automatic espresso machine.
And she got that.
Because I have to be able to get espresso using only one hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it needs to grind the coffee, not an espresso.
I had the perfect one before, but you need both hands to make a good espresso. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm not going through another year of not having coffee. Okay. Then I need, what is it called? The machine that dries your clothes.
Oh,
just a dryer?
Dryer.
Yeah. So we would hang our laundry because we wanted to be sustainable. And I was like, okay, 4 children. I need a dryer. Mm-hmm. I live in a country where it rains all the time. I can't do this. I need a dryer. And I need a car. I can't do it anymore.
And the 4th thing was that you didn't want to go to work anymore.
No, that was after cancer.
Oh, that was
cancer. That was before the 4th child.
Yeah.
With cancer, I said, I'm never going to work again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not going to do it. I'm never going to do winter again. I'm never going to work again. And I also promised I'm not going to complain ever.
Yeah.
Those 3 together really changed my life. They are hard. Not working, it will give you some obstacles.
It's not having a boss.
But it's not having a boss.
Yes.
It's not working.
It's not working. Of course.
Yeah, of course.
No, but then we got the driver's licenses, and when Fjord was 4 months old, we rented out our house for 3 months and took a 3-month road trip through Europe, and we haven't driven a car before, more or less. So we learned how to drive, and we got what we understood, and that travel was different things. One of them was, it's not fun to be on vacation for 3 months. Honestly, I don't like it. We saw a lot of beautiful places.
And it was fun.
It was fun, but 3 months is a really long vacation. And I, for example, I need stuff to do. Otherwise, my family get tired of me because I get
really annoying.
I get annoying, very, very happy and think.
I can relate.
And the jokes, the quality just
They just lower.
And at some point you're like, okay, I'm going out for coffee, and then you make up some project you want to work on, and then we join each other in 2 hours from now.
But back then it was in 12. Then we kept talking about it, but it wasn't really in our mind that it was possible.
Did I have cancer? Oh, that was before 12.
Yeah, it wasn't really in our mind that it was possible to travel full time, not having a day-to-day office and unschooling the kids. So what happened was that Storm, our oldest boy, he's 15. We have a grown-up daughter, 22. She was in a free school, but he went to us and said that he didn't want to go to school.
And he said it so nicely. He just said, Mom and Dad, this whole school thing, I don't think it's for me.
It's not the right choice.
It's not for me. Other kids maybe, but me, no.
And he has been going to school until then or never?
No.
So never.
So in Denmark we call it school after 6 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before that we call it kindergarten.
Yeah, of course. Uh-huh.
And they were so we have now in total 4 children. 22 years old, living in Copenhagen, 15 traveling with us, 12 traveling with us, and 9 traveling with us. And the 2 in the middle, they were in kindergarten before I had cancer. Mm-hmm. And after the cancer, we took them home. Because the thing was that after the treatment of the cancer, we didn't know if it was gone. I had leukemia. Oh, wow. And you cannot measure if it's still there. Mm-hmm. You have to wait and see. So when I came back after 6 months in the hospital, we didn't know if I was staying or if it was just 1 month and I'm going back. And, we didn't know. My prognosis was really bad. And of course, all we wanted was to be together in the time that we had. So we took the kids out of kindergarten. The big one wanted to stay in school. And then I got pregnant and we had the 4th one. So after this road trip he just talked about was the time for our oldest son, now 15, to start what we call school in Denmark after 6 years old, which is mandatory. It's not mandatory, but education is mandatory at this point. Mm-hmm. And then he said, I don't think it's for me. Mm-hmm. And we were like, Took us some time.
Some of us listened better. Cecilie listens better.
Thought,
I tried. I was like, no, but I was raised with you. Of course you go to school because it's... I was very much more in the box than Cecilie was.
So my parents are kind of wild and crazy.
Yeah, and I'm from a suburb in Denmark.
His
and
parents are
nice
awesome, but more like...
And so it wasn't... So it took me... So first, Cecilie...
But they are not normal, your parents.
No, not in that way. No.
Which parents are normal?
I'm just, it sounds almost offensive. But they lived in a house and they did the jobs and things were more like what you would imagine a family life in the 80s and 90s.
In my world, kids went to school. I went to school and it was like, it was good for me, it must be good for you. I actually, one of those kids and had an okay, perfectly happy school time. I didn't listen, so I was fine. So it took me some time, but we tried to talk him into it, and
we're trying to answer why we started full time traveling.
No, okay, I will speed it up then.
No. That's really cool.
So what happened was we
But that's
listened.
what I told you. It has a lot of things going together to this point of.
We listened to him, and that for me it was like Cecilie was like, "Let us do it," and I was like. No. Okay, we can do it 1 year. I mean, you're 6 years old. You can start 1 year later. Nothing will get hurt.
You said 6 months.
Okay, maybe I said 6 months, but still, after a week or two, I was like, yeah.
The funny thing is that it took him a long time, like 3 or 4 weeks to accept. Okay, let's try it. Let's not put him to school, and let's check it out for 6 months. But then you have to teach him how to read and write. And he was like a little more scared. And I was like, let's just, live in the flow. But then after maybe 1 or 2 months of homeschooling, he completely let go. He was like, this is just life. Yeah. We just live. And I got stuck with this idea that I had to teach them everything. And it took me maybe a year or two to let go of the whole idea of schooling and just, start living. I don't know. It was just, maybe because it was more, at that
you
point,
also
more
went to the university
but it was more
totally
my responsibility because you were gone in the office all day and I was home with the kids. So if they never learned to read and write, it would reflect back on me. It would be my responsibility, not reflect on, but it would be my kids having this problem, and it would be my fault because of course he couldn't teach them as he was not there. So it took 2 years, something like that, before we realized,
and
to just let go. To just
and then
let them...
being parents, you have responsibilities, and for each child you have different responsibilities. And we had a grown-up daughter who is 22 now, and she really loved her youth life in Copenhagen. And so we could see she had an education she wanted to do, and we could look at our life like from the above and say, okay, if we ever want to go and try to travel, then there's a room here. And that room was when she was finished with her youth education, which changed, a side story to that a little later. And then before storms turned too old. I mean, would you travel with your parents when you're 21, 18, 19? Maybe not. So
maybe if you already are
doing it, then you could maybe explore and go back. So we knew that once she finished high school, then we had a room of 3 to 4 years where we could travel, at least. Because if he wanted a youth education, classical youth education, he should start this summer. He doesn't. He studies life and he works and he is having a lot of fun. So there was this room, and what really happened also was it became more and more weird for me to go to work. Because our oldest daughter, she took a leap year, and Cecilie was home, didn't work, and the 3 kids were home, didn't work, and the dog seriously didn't work. And so every morning...
And the other dog was just a puppy.
Yeah, it was just a puppy, so made
didn't
nothing.
Work at all.
So every day I went to an office, leaving my family behind. That is really strange. And it felt in the end like I was the reason that we have to stay in Denmark because I had a day job. So we actually took a talk in 2015, I think it was, where we looked at the time frame and that and said to ourselves, okay, we need to change this. So we made a plan that inside 3 years we wanted to have built up almost the same amount of income on the side as I did when going to work. Because one thing is being a normal nomad, digital nomad nowadays, where it's like, oh, you're a digital nomad. How many do you need to provide for? One person on a budget in Thailand. Okay, no.
That's doable.
That's doable. But to take the plug, I didn't have the balls to just say, okay, you know what? Thank you. It was wonderful working for you guys. Now we just leave, and then not knowing how to feed the family. So we used 3 years to build up income on the side.
But it was also 3 years because our oldest daughter, she got accepted into a school for writers, which is a very good one in Copenhagen. And it takes only, 12 students every second year. Oh, wow. And she was the youngest one to ever be accepted. And it was like a great honor and a great opportunity for her. And she was only 16 at the time, so of course we wouldn't leave her 16 years old, and we couldn't tell her you can do that education somewhere else. No, she couldn't. This is a very special school, and she's very talented. And if you're that talented a writer, usually you write in your own language. So she's narrowed down to, and she was already accepted at the school. So we thought, okay, then we have this time, the 2 years that she's studying at the university writing, we're staying put. But we're going to make the money, not to save up money, but to have a steady income so we feel comfortable leaving. Mm-hmm. And then there's the bus.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we should talk about the bus.
A little about the bus.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's on your website. Yeah. Actually, we should just mention to people that like you guys have like a very cool like a website that has like a lot of writing from you guys, and it has a
primarily from her. Yeah.
And you have like that cool photo of you guys in the
bus. Big red bus.
So I guess we could talk about that a little bit.
So now we are at the point where we have decided to go full-time traveling, and we also know more or less when we're going to do it, because we're going to have to wait those 2 years for this education. And so it makes things more specific. And we started discussing how will we travel, because there are so many styles. You could also do slow traveling, say, okay, I go to this place, I rent a place for 6 months, I get to know this country, this language. Some people even send their kids to the local school, and then after 6 months we relocate and we do something else. Or we could go backpacking, or we could, buy a camper van, or there's so many ways to do it. And we decided that it would be feel more secure and homey for the kids if we traveled in some kind of home. And we
explored.
We already had a converted van.
Yeah, but we also explored, should it be a boat? But I don't know how to sail, and it limits also your freedom with a boat, because you can only go from harbor to harbor. And I'm afraid of the big ocean, so we would like harbor to harbor along the coast.
That was a really bad plan, the boat plan. Of course, you can walk, but you're
not going to go that far.
So the bus was actually the most logical choice.
Yeah, then it could have been a camper van, but there's something about the camper vans that's just.
They are wonderful for 2 or 3 weeks also, but
some people do awesome things in camper van. The circus family, for example, it's not like, but it's not for us. It was very clear. It's not for us. And he's so big. Inside a camper van, he would just break things all the time and walk into because they're made like the toilet in an airplane.
Yes.
Meant in a good way. Yeah. Very efficient, very small little things you open and do.
No, but also the windows.
Guy, he would
the
just
windows
break it and
It's like the bull in the China room.
But the thing with the bus was we actually talked about it in the start that maybe it would just be a ticket out of the day-to-day work.
Actually, we realized that whatever way we get out of this life that we have now into the other life, the nomadic life, it's just, a bridge. And it doesn't have to be our style forever because we can't know what it will do to us to be nomadic. We just know that we want this change. And we had a beautiful life in Copenhagen. Of course, it sucks to go to the office, but it wasn't that bad. We had a great house. We had great friends. We still have the friends. We don't have the house anymore. The city is, of course, it's Copenhagen. It's wonderful. So it was hard to leave. But we just felt, now we've been here for 40 years.
Right.
And the planet is so big. And if we only go 6 weeks every summer, there's a limit to how much can we... Yeah, we wanted to do this full-time life. There was this guy we discussed it with. He said, in, 2017, he was 3 weeks in Thailand and he remembered every moment of it. And the other 40-something weeks is a blur.
Just going to work.
It's the same.
Yeah.
So we wanted this life where you're awake. I told you when you came here, I'm awake all the time here. It's like Istanbul, if I can say something about Istanbul in the middle of our story, we're in Istanbul and I'm awake all the time like I am when I travel. It's so stimulating for the brain. I get new ideas, new inspiration, new questions, new sentiments, new vibrations I pick up all the time here, and it's a bit like dreaming. It's wobbly in a way. So I'm awake and sleeping, but I'm not numb and I'm not in any routine and I'm not like just doing, press repeat every morning because Istanbul is crazy.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
Yeah.
But in a crazy way.
Yeah.
So this is what we wanted. We wanted this ever-changing life. But we didn't know how do we want to do it?
And also we talked about the security
we said,
with the
okay,
children.
if we can leave in the bus, then we're out, and then we'll have to see. So couldn't be a camper van. We had to get a big old bus. We wanted a veteran because he liked the look of it.
We met some people in Copenhagen who had a wonderful bus, and I was like, I want that. It's beautiful, and when
You
I see
woke
something
me
I
up
want.
some night.
Oh yeah, I was sitting drinking red wine with a friend when I found this bus, and it was like, we need to go to Sweden to buy a bus, and she's like, it's Sunday morning.
2 in the night.
Yeah.
Why are you waking me up?
No,
I
but-
found the bus.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, we can talk
Can
about
we
it tomorrow.
talk about it
Okay.
tomorrow after coffee, preferably?
Yeah. No, but then we went on the first day and bought it, and it was I cried on the way home because the feeling of seeing the ticket out of that life I went to work for 20 years in an office. I have worked in the media industry. I've been blessed. I have wonderful tasks and wonderful colleagues, but it has not been being together with my family. It has been together with people I haven't chosen in my life, and I think that's one of the biggest difference of this traveling, to choose whom to be together with. But the bus is more or less, it was a ticket out. Now it stands in, we traveled in it for a couple of months, and then we fell in love with a place, and then we tried to leave. And it was in Animal Sanctuary where we parked the bus for 1 week.
So the plan was to stay 1 or 2 weeks.
In this Animal Sanctuary is in
This
Spain?
is in northern
Yes.
Spain,
Yes.
yeah. This is where we traveled the bus. First we rebuilt the bus for a very long time.
Only 3 months. So.
Too much for me. And then we traveled the bus for another 3 months.
Yeah.
And so we came to this animal sanctuary and something happened there. The plan was to stay 2 weeks, and then we stayed a little longer, and they started inviting us for the Christmas party, and we were like, but that's in 5 weeks from now. Yeah, and then we wanted to go to the Canary Islands for winter, so we asked, can we leave the bus here and fly and come back? And we did that, and then we came back, and then we really liked it, and they told us that they were going to tear down the bridge so we could never leave. They really liked having us there. So we felt welcome and we felt at home, and then unfortunately my mother died, and we had to fly back to Denmark, stayed for month and a half troubleshooting, and a lot of things happened in my family when my mother died, and then we came back to the bus in Spain, and I just needed a break. I was so exhausted because my whole process of grieving my mother's death had just been on hold while I was in Denmark troubleshooting the whole situation. So I came back personally exhausted. I just needed to look at the horizon for a while. So I did that. And I was still shaken when he started saying, we have to go. Now we should start the bus and go. We bought this bus to travel and we should start it. And I was like, I feel we shouldn't. And he was like, no, you're just tired. Let's go. And, I felt we shouldn't. He felt we should. And, you can't follow two different feelings. So we tried. But basically, without telling all of the stories of the bus, the bus didn't want to go. Every time we started the bus or tried to start the bus, something happened. First, it was my mother leaving the planet.
Second time I broke a window against a tree.
Second time it was a tree entering the bus through a window.
Third time a tire was flat.
Then there was the battery.
Battery dead, and then a air compression thing didn't work. Everything works now, and the bus can
The bus
leave.
is perfect and can drive now, but we're not going to do it.
No, we have accepted.
The bus wants to stay there.
It has.
We're actually
found
working on
retirement
buying
home.
the piece of land where it's parked.
So it can be happy.
To make it happy, because it's an old lady. It's older than me, the bus. It's a very, very beautiful old
But
lady.
now we also have a base, 3 to 4 months, maybe 5 months. COVID came and was a little longer. But we have a home in Spain, and we can always return to it, and with our lifestyle.
And we can move it if we want to.
Yeah, but until now we don't want to. It's like it's a good place to come back to. We're there 3 to 5 months a year so it's like 1.5 months.
You say it like we have routines. We don't have routines.
No. But the feeling is we'll return. We will go to Denmark in August. Then we will go back there, be there for 1 or 2 months. Then we will leave over the winter, because when you can choose where you want to be, then there's no reason to be in Spain in the winter.
Unless you're in the south or the Canary Islands.
Yeah. And then we will go. Then we will come back because we have friends, we have family. Not family; they feel like family. But we have the animals. And some of the animals have been given names after our children, of us. We have been to the bird of donkeys, and before we left Spain this time, we pig sat, it's called that, a piglet for almost a month because it was prenatal, born too early. So I slept with it in the night and all. I miss him. Yeah. Kiwi. Yeah. No. So this place alone gives us so many experiences, and we volunteer our time, help them with the donation program, and our kids are helping there, learning how to raise animals. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
And it still feels like traveling. I mean, it still feels like an adventure to be there. And the funny thing is, it's called Món la Bassa, which in Catalan means the world around the pond. So we wanted to travel the world, and we got to the world with our bus, and then we just realized the bus shouldn't be a limitation, it should be a solution. And it seems that what happened to our family is that the bus is a base. It feels like home. We call it home when we come to the bus, and then we stay for whatever time we want.
And how you travel now?
So we also have a van.
We have
Actually, we have 2 vans.
Yeah.
We also have bikes and
we started with No, we started with a bus with bikes, and then we bought a van, and then we bought a Mercedes Sprinter, which we are going to rebuild because
the Sprinter is the new project. So for now we travel in the Volkswagen multivan, which has 7 seats, and the Westphalia pop top. So if we need to sleep in it, we can do it. It's a little. So the kids are not very small anymore. So when we sleep in the van, if it's more than
a couple of nights.
28 degrees outside, it's kind of hard to sleep in the van. And of course, it's a narrow space, and we don't travel with a lot of stuff anymore, but we still travel with musical instruments
Still
and
5
books.
people.
So we're 5 people, we all need clothes, and so I mean, we learn all the time, but also we travel with our life. So that's why we bring the musical instruments. We also travel with a high-speed blender because we really enjoy having our smoothies and our hummus. And
a milk frother because you need good milk for her coffee.
we have a built-in kitchen in the van. Like, you pull out some drawers in the back. And so we have a lot of kitchen stuff there because we're also vegan and we don't eat gluten. So cooking is very often
it's easier to travel with a pot you know how to cook in.
Yeah, I hate that.
So we bring our own pot.
I have a big pot that I know if I cook veggies in this and it's full, we will all be happy.
Yeah, right.
And I have my own. Yeah.
So that was a long answer to the question about the bus.
That's amazing.
How did we start? Yeah.
That was how.
That was how.
That's all. No, it's quite interesting and fascinating. Like when we met before, that's one of the great things about this, having these conversations in interviews, because I did not know about like your cancer and your experience, like work. Like leaving the family and all that. It's like it's not those things that come up like, oh, by the way, I had
over the first cup of tea you had. I think it was also our second day in Istanbul.
Yeah.
We were still kind of
and the whole there is something interesting about choosing the homeschool. That's our dog jumping in.
Hello.
Yeah, come Yuna.
So it's basically traveling with 3 kids and the dog and instruments and cooking material. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, it's very packed. That's why we wanted a 7 meter.
Yeah. I mean, then we don't have as much.
As if right now we are in a very lovely Airbnb apartment that you guys rented out here. Like that's one sort of like, this is not a tips for traveling show. It's just about people, like lifestyle, all the stuff we're doing. Yeah. But it's an interesting thing that people sometimes they don't consider. Like, even though it's so prominent around the world, people don't know that you can just search for places. See, I want this kind of, I want the whole apartment for myself that has like basically full kitchen and some decoration and nice, and you actually feel at home if you want on that place.
And one of the things we actually do is as we travel with our life and it's not on vacation, then there's 2 things. One is we like to come back. For example, there is a vacation house in Denmark we have rented right now 2 or 3 times, and we might do it again because it helps also the children when you travel. You need to make sure that you don't create rootless children. It's good to give them a sense of stability, and not a sense, but a feeling of stability. And
that's
it's
not
really
about
nice.
the places, in my
No,
opinion.
but there's a table football, and that's a vacation
That's
house.
the
That
reason.
helps. Yeah, I
mean,
love table football.
It's the table football and the proximity to the ocean.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
But
I think
here,
next time we should get another one.
yeah. But here, to find something that is big enough that we can invite friends, we have invited some friends will come tomorrow. We have a friend in Catalonia. We have said to him, if you want to come.
Yeah,
Because
we're extremely social.
Yeah, and one of the things with traveling is it's nice from time to time to rent a place where you can invite people.
Interesting.
For example, our daughter, one easy way to see our grown-up daughter is also if we say, hey daughter, here's plane tickets to you and your boyfriend. Do you want to join us in Istanbul or in Gran Canaria? And then if you have a place that's big enough, then it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's so that's what I think we should mention this because it's so, let's say, for most people it would be unusual. I've heard about the idea of unschooling and how you guys talked a little bit about this, but I think it's so interesting to, especially now with the pandemic, I think people are more aware at least of homeschooling or those home pods when you have like a bunch of each day of the week one of the parents teach. But there is also this, one could say, more radical or more natural way that is like that you don't have this thing of standing in front of one teacher with all this like machine style like actually from those times of like.
So there's actually in some way the pandemic has been a good.
It's been a gift and
eye
an
opener
awkward
for
wrapping.
people about homeschooling, but in another way it hasn't, because the pandemic homeschooling was a lot of suffering for a lot of people.
Of course.
And the kids basically had to still obey the school teacher and the curriculum. The parents didn't have the responsibility for the education. The responsibility was still on the hands of the school. And the parents, most of them had to work from home, so they didn't have any extra time, resources to take care of their kids or to have conversations or to even understand what the kids had to do. It was just more work on the side of the parents. So I think a lot of parents got a very negative idea about homeschooling because they were under such pressure. And basically we were all under a lot of pressure during the pandemic. I loved it in some ways and I hated it in other. I was in Spain.
That was lockdown.
That was lockdown.
Yeah.
Lockdown style. But of course it was Europe, so no one beat us up.
But I think if you
But our style.
Yeah, no, I will take the other one first and finish it. If you take children out of we don't know how long time, which the lockdowns were, then I would have just said relax, but they have a schedule. They need to have a schedule as they are teaching 28 students at the same time. I wish they could do it differently, but if you're teaching 28 people at the same time, that might be the best system. It's not a system for us.
With the pandemic, it was crazy that they would, why not just leave the kids be
and
for
have
3
time
months?
to talk about the fear and the anxiety.
Just leave them be, but they didn't. So in that respect, I think a lot of people think they know what it is, but actually
they don't. People
don't.
It wasn't people's choice, or even like they still had to do the work, and it was a lot of stress at that moment. It happened all suddenly, so but at least hopefully this time people can look back and maybe see like, oh, maybe that experience could have been better.
Maybe to be a call to adventure to some people.
Yeah, I think the more people got inspired to start to homeschool. And what we do is we just live our life.
We don't do school.
We don't school. We love to learn, all of us. I think in some ways my own life was I went to the public school and then I went to high school and then I had fun for a lot of years. And then at some point I decided to
have another kind of fun.
Have another kind of fun and a family. But I was just hanging out, having fun, making projects, and then at one point I got my foot into the media industry, and I just worked now there for 20 years and still doing it.
So your point is that you didn't need an education.
I didn't need an education to end up in a really well-paid career I've had, and there are so many of the things people work with today that is not something they were taught on the university. There are areas where I prefer that people have practiced, if I need to go to a doctor, of course. But there are many things.
I'm sorry, I think you're mixing things up. Because there's the question of the higher education or the education as a base for your career. That's one thing. That's usually what people learn after the age of 18, 19, 20 years old. After high school, kind of. And you choose your career and you become a doctor or a scientist or whatever. So what I'm interested in and what we're doing is the childhood. It's about the basic education from age, whatever you think. Maybe in my country it's 6 years, then you have to start school. And then you go to school it's mandatory to have an education for 10 years in my country. And then most people do another 3 years of high school, kind of something equivalent to that. And what we believe in is that this compulsory schooling of all of the children, stealing most of their time and telling them what to do and what not to do and what is good to do and did they do it well or not. This is toxic. We believe that children are very capable of educating themselves, and if we leave them with their time, which is their time on this planet, we respect their personal integrity and their ability to find their own trajectory, and we leave them to grow up in an environment of unconditional love. They will be loved whether they are good at things or not. And they are free to explore whatever they find interesting. In this way they will have a basic education which is different from a curriculum-based one, which means it's also different from a homeschool education, because we don't homeschool. We don't sit around a table with a little bell and a list of what people have to do. We don't do it. We did it in the beginning, as I told you, but we don't do it anymore. We believe basically they have the right to have this personal freedom. We are both freedom fighters ourselves. No one can tell us what to do. You try and you will have problems. And of course, it makes no sense that we should tell our children what to do. Of course, we respect their personal freedom.
And
so that's how we do it. We don't.
We just live.
We just live.
Yeah, that's the two things, because to me that sounds like fascinating, because I remember like at least in my case, like for school, like I remember at some point I loved going to school until the 5th, 6th grade, and then it became, I remember, now I'm going to learn science, and then I had the teacher say, this is a vector, this is a vector. Is that physics? Like that's what physics is? So it's sort of like it beats out of you the curiosity and the interest and all those things, and I always saw that. And I always remembered going to university, going to like studying undergrad, like in advertising, like communications and things like that. And I remember one of the guys that I most admired in the advertising industry in Brazil, and he said, if you're a painter, if you're a writer, if you're a photographer, if you're a sculptor, we'll try to hire you. If you are in advertising school, I have no use for you. And I'm like, it was the first time and then I started learning about these other options, and like, why can't you let the child follow their curiosity and their interests? So that I totally get. The two things that as we're thinking eventually to have kids, and even this, should we settle down and put kids in school and all those things? The two things that I don't know how you guys deal with is the like having friends that are the same age. So that would be interesting to know how to deal with that.
You get to take it?
I love it. Yeah,
like, because I remember not wanting to be. I love my parents. We would talk in the evenings, like about like when I was 10, discussing Sartre and whatever. But I like my friends, my age, to have the stupid problems that a 10-year-old have. So how do you guys deal with that? Let's say, what's the word for it? Like socialism. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's take that one. That's one of the. The fun thing is...
So there are two questions. I will not answer it. I'll just say this. There are two questions we always get. How do you afford it? And what about social life?
Yeah.
So this is like the star.
I imagine.
But the really fun thing is, being raised like you have been and we have been, it's very difficult to understand the forced reality we have been in. We have been in a reality where I can talk for myself. I dislike people who was a year younger because they were a year younger. You didn't talk with them. Maybe you bullied them. And the people who were 1 year older, they were dangerous.
Yes.
So you only like people your same age because that was the square you were forced into living in. Then when you went into sports, it was only people on the same age again. Mm-hmm. It's a really, really weird world if you think about it. I don't know, how old are you, Pedro?
I'm 42.
And we shouldn't talk then.
How can we talk?
How can we talk? I'm 46 and we shouldn't be talking. And that's one of the fun things about believing that kids need to be around people on the same age. It is, if you look at history, it's such a short period where we have had the experiment of school. It's only like 200 years or something. I can't remember the correct length, but it's a very short period. And if you take the kindergarten and the nursery places, that's even shorter. I hope and believe that people will wake up and say, oh, that was a crazy experiment we did then. Let's do something better. Because it's not natural. There's nothing normal about forcing 28 people of the same age into the same room. And ask any children or yourself, hey, Pedro, would you like to go out and find 27 other people who are all 42 right now and spend 8 hours together with them?
Every day.
Every day, for 5 days a week.
Right. Huh.
Just ask yourself that question. Is that something
Because
you wake
this
up in
is
the morning
another-
and think that could be cool? And it's like, no, I would hate it. I would hate not to be in a world where I can, as the elder to you young man over there, I can ooze my wisdom. Or when I meet with tomorrow, my other friend Chris comes, and he's 67 or something, and there I can be the pupil. And I love that. I love to be able to be in a mix of life. So our kids have friends who are like, one of their best friends is 25.
Right.
And they hang out and play board games at Nomadic, and they have so much fun. And so the age thing is it's called, if you look into it, it's called ageism also. Mm-hmm. It's a crazy world to believe.
So there is the forced reality that most kids grow up in, where they spend most of their waking hours in a group of people who have more or less the same age.
Right.
And we all grew up in that reality, so we believe it's reality. And we believe it's good for you, and that's what you need, because when you're forced into this reality and most of it is no fun, and you have the curriculum and you have the bells and you have the things you have to do, and you have to read this page, not that page of the book, and the whole structure of things, no freedom, no real motivation, then the good thing is the friends you have.
Right.
So you're in a bad box, and the good thing you find is your friend over there.
Right.
Of course. The forced reality of the box of the school that we all remember, which makes us think kids need kids of their own age, is because we were in a box where the only good thing was the other kids.
That's brilliant.
Did I mention Cecilie is a trained psychologist, so it's not for fun. She's saying it.
I didn't read it in a book.
No.
I discussed it with a friend. Anyway, so that's why we believe so. Another thing is that, of course, we have friends. In the school reality, you spend, as my husband said, you spend 8 hours every day surrounded by
Kids you don't
25
like.
other kids. Yeah. Let's say they're all your friends. You like them. It's a good social life. I have friends. I have a lot of friends. I have more than 25 friends. But let's say I pick 25 of my friends. Would I want to spend every day from 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon with 25 of my friends? No, thank you. I'm a very, very hyper-social person. I actually got tested several times, and I'm like in the 99th percentile. I'm extremely social. Still, I would not want to spend that many hours with that many of my friends. So this constructed reality is not real, and I believe it's not good for kids.
That's fascinating.
Now we said all that. How do we have a social life? Because it's still a question. Of course, we need a social life, and some of us are hyper-social, And we really like people, and we like to be around people. And we have the 5 of us, we have each other, but it's not enough, obviously. Of course it's not enough. We like friends. The thing is, we're out of the idea that friends need to have the same age. Of course, children enjoy being around other children. They are not always around other adults, because the funny thing is that other adults, they also have children. So there are still some children in this world. Most of them are in school, so they're not very available because they are in the school all the time. You walk the streets, you don't see children, at least not before 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
But some of the kids are not in school, some of the kids are travelers, and so we go to great length to find those kids.
So just as with
So
all parents.
when
just
I'm here in
meet each other.
Istanbul,
Yeah.
I say on social media, in the traveling communities, that we are here and we are with kids of this age because, of course, we like kids. There are a lot of people traveling with very small kids. And then when the kids become older, the problem of education and social life becomes more confronting. It's actually not a problem. The problem is the critique of other people.
Yeah.
So when your mother-in-law, not my mother-in-law, but...
Well, she's cool.
But it's very often the mother-in-law or the father-in-law or some auntie or some best friend who keeps criticizing, your child needs to... And if the kids are not perfectly balanced and happy, then it's because they're not in school and they don't have a home. And it's not, of course. Of course, our kids sometimes they hate it and they're out of balance and they freak out and they feel like shit. It happens to everyone sometimes. Yeah. And of course it happens to people who travel as well. But if you are not very strong in your choice of the unschooling and the traveling life, then it can be very hard to continue as the kids grow up.
Right.
And then you think the solution is a little house with 2 cars and the kids in school. And maybe it is. Maybe for some people it is. For me, it's
never
not.
go back.
No, we're not going back.
But we are, for example, here in Istanbul because we...
Actually, we're here for social reasons.
We're here for social reasons. Some friends needed to go to Istanbul for 2 weeks and we visit them a week or 2 every year. And they said, we are going to Istanbul. Do you want to join us? And we were in Spain and it's not like it's a quick trip. So we
Next stop is Copenhagen. It's not like it's on the way.
No, on the way. No. So we were like, are you in Istanbul? Oh yeah, we'll come, guys. And then they were like, do you mean it? Yeah, of course. Because
and actually now we came before them.
Yeah, we have board games and we can play board games together with them and it will be awesome. We will have a lot of fun. They come tomorrow.
We very often travel for people and we very often say the adventure is the people.
Yeah.
It's not the destination, it's the people you meet. And sometimes it's people we already know and they are somewhere, or it's people we don't know but they're unschooling and they live in a van and they are in XYZ place and we're like, okay, let's go there, see if they're fun. And if they're not fun, you know what? We can just leave. So, and it's not like we dislike people when we leave, but sometimes, the energy is not perfect. And sometimes we have only 2 or 3 days and we meet someone and it's just amazing and we're like, I want to stay for a month, but we have something we have to do and then we come back.
Yeah, that's so fascinating that this was the only, and to me it's sort of mind blowing. It's like, of course, and also about the social aspect. It's like I remember even when I was a kid, sometimes the most interesting people had nothing to do with age, right? It's just like the narrow range of non-mean kids especially because I was in one city, then I went to another that had a different accent. As soon as I spoke, I went into a fight because they started laughing at it was my first fight, that kind of stuff. So of course. And then you find those 3-4 friends that will be for life, but that has nothing to do with the environment of the school. And that's fascinating.
Those friends, they are down there in the street as well.
Exactly.
Of course, we find friends and we find lifetime friends. And also we have friends that we don't have to be with them all the time. We have some friends, we see them maybe a week or 2 every year, but they're really close friends.
One of my best friends, we just need to talk in the phone every second year, then all is sorted.
Yep.
It's like, it's cool. No, but we know we're there. We are what we call life witnesses, because he have been in my life so long, I've been in his life so long, so we need to check up from time to time. But we live separate lives. He's a school teacher. I mean, we live very differently, but we need to... connect from time to time and be there.
But you can just say what you want to say. Then go get it.
Stop the fan, what?
But you can
For the kids.
you just needed the charger for the computer.
Grab it.
Of course you can take it.
Yeah.
So cute. Yeah, so I know you guys have more interviews coming like soon, other people interviewing. So first one, thank you for being with us. It was like, if people want to take a look at your work, because I know you guys have, what's the website that people should go to?
Worldschoolingnomads.com.
Mm-hmm. That's
You'll make sure to add also links.
yes, we'll add links and everything.
Yeah.
It's
And we will send you a picture of the bus. You can
yes,
put in
please
the
do.
video.
Yeah, if you have any images, we'll interlate, like put it somewhere
Yeah,
in the footage. Any last thoughts, comments, anything? Iana?
Well, very interesting. I think it would be very different perspectives for many people, because we receive a lot of questions too, like, oh, how you travel so much,
Yeah.
but we don't travel that much compared to your
Yeah,
story.
we
At
just
least
started,
for now,
yeah.
we just started. So very interesting. I even liked it. Kind of goes very nicely with our previous episode, because we talked about different paths that you take in a new country or in a new city, which you can also do in your own city, which leads to different things. And that's how basically we met with you, because we were dropping by just for a cup of tea and coffee to meet with our common friend, and then she invited, oh, I'm doing this painting, do you want to stay? So we stayed, and that's when you arrived there.
Yeah, and that's actually a very good point, because we were actually going to, Iana said, oh, let's go to this shopping area, because she wanted to go like do some shopping specifically for some photo shoots and some videos. And then I said, but Raqauy is on this place, it looks so interesting, let's just drop by and have a coffee, right?
Yeah.
That's how I convinced her. I said, just for a coffee, it's okay.
Yeah, but it's about this saying yes and being open. I mean, it has changed our lives so much. From time to time, we have said yes. People have said to us, why don't you come and live with us for a month? And we were like, okay, let's try that. It's a new experience.
Yeah, it's a strategy we've done a few times.
Yeah.
It's actually really crazy. We just moved in with strangers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Someone we didn't even meet in
Never
real
met
life,
before.
or maybe we did meet in real life just once or twice, and
Or
they were
maybe
like,
on
come live
Zoom.
with us. And we were like, yeah. So now we're totally used to just moving into people's place.
And it's a
Most
wonderful-
people have a lot of space. We live in a bus.
Yeah.
It's 22 square meters, and we're 5
I mean,
people.
this room is bigger
So, I mean,
than
this
our bus.
room is enough
Of course.
living accommodation for a family of 5, and people have a lot of chairs, and they have a kitchen. And what happens when you move in with people, instead of visiting or being neighbors, is within 24 hours, you've seen each other brush teeth, and you've been really tired in the morning, and you just become
You drop the
friends.
facade.
Everything falls down to like a very, very peaceful way of being together, and you get to know each other like really in the heart. You have really good conversations in between things, not over dinner, but all the little situations, and we've had amazing
Yeah, it's
experiences.
fantastic. It's great
And
to live
people
together.
who invited
I
us has
prefer to
become
live
like-
together with people
Yeah.
instead of visiting them, because waking up and hanging out in the morning, and it's like, yeah, come on. I've seen you being angry at your kids. You've seen me being angry at our kids. We're both human. We've been happy together, and
You've seen
chill.
me being really tired.
We know that's life.
Yeah.
I mean, and just being honest, being there.
And you get so great friends from this. It's wonderful.
Yeah, we almost had one that, in the end, I'm glad we actually didn't go in this little adventure, because a friend, I just messaged someone saying, oh, I'm here to talk to these musicians and these projects. And then she said, oh, why don't you come today, at least to the next day, with us to this mountain with like dervishes and stuff. And then we just could not arrange to be able to say, okay, for next time. And then she said, oh, I think it's for the better. And I'm like, yeah, it is. We met you guys. We did a lot of cool things. So it's like, yeah, it's...
But it's always for the better. That's that's another episode. I think.
Yes, I guess. Yeah, so...
this or something better.
Yeah, so...
Well, yeah, it's also a question of perspective. If you choose it, it's for the better.
Right.
Yeah. You can always look at the little thing that's not working if you want to, or you can look at the great perspective of what's actually going on.
Right.
It's mindset, period.
Yeah. Well, that's on that note. We should let
stop,
you do your stuff. Thank you again, and
thank you. It was
thank you for being our first double date.
Yes.
That was really cool. So this has been. You want to close us off?
I think that was very exciting and interesting conversation, and I think we will receive a lot of questions. So
Pass
we'll
them on.
see. Yes, we'll
Yes.
pass to you and see how to address them in the next episode, so people have their replies. Because I know now is a lot of exciting things, but a lot of questions still too.
Yeah, and it's and the number 2 coming soon, because there's a lot more to it.
So
We
where
just
should we
started
leave?
scratching. Huh?
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. We don't know. We're supposed to be out of here a while back. We were now literally like, yes, are we going to like Göbekli Tepe, to Cappadocia, or sticking around Istanbul? We don't know. So, well,
We'll see.
hopefully
Life
we'll
will
stick
show.
around.
But on
Like
this
we said.
note, thank you once again, guys, and
Yes.
I'm pretty sure we'll see you soon.
Yes.
It was a pleasure.
Cool.
Bye.
Ciao.